Every spring, millions of American gardeners make the same decision. Walk into a garden center, load up a cart, spend real money on plants that look spectacular under the overhead lights. Bring them home, plant them carefully, water them through July and August, and by October most of it is gone, and the whole cycle starts over again next April. If that sounds familiar, this video is the permanent solution to that problem. The 11 perennials in this video come back every year, spread wider with every season, fill bare ground, feed wildlife, and never ask to be replaced. June is not a compromise window. For most of the country, June planting produces strong, well-rooted plants fully established before the following spring, arriving at their first full season already prepared to perform. These plants go in the ground this month and reward you for the rest of your gardening life. Plant number 7 is the most underrated spreader on this entire list. A plant most gardeners walk past at the nursery without picking up, that quietly fills the toughest spots in the yard while everything around it struggles. Plant number 9 carries a reputation problem it does not deserve, and once you understand what it actually does, you will wonder why you waited this long. And plant number 11 is the hidden gem that saves your fall garden when every other perennial has already wound down, the one worth staying through the entire video for. Drop your US state in the comments right now before we start. Your USDA hardiness zone determines which of these 11 spreaders will perform best in your specific yard, and we are calling out zones throughout this entire video. If Garden Senior Living is not already part of your weekly routine, subscribe before this video ends. Practical, zone-specific, experience-based gardening guidance goes out every single week, the kind of information that saves you real money and real effort every season. Leave without subscribing, and the next video may not find you. 11 plants. 1 June decision. Let's make it permanent. Plant 1, Creeping Phlox / Phlox subulata. Plant 1 creates a waterfall of color in April and May, and then spends the rest of the year doing something equally valuable that most gardeners never expected when they planted it. Creeping Phlox blooms before any other plant on this list. In April and May, it covers itself so completely with small 5-petaled flowers in pink, white, lavender, red, and magenta that the foliage beneath them disappears entirely. Draped over a wall edge, cascading down a slope, or spreading across the front of a border, the spring display is one of the most dramatic of the entire gardening year, arriving weeks before any competition shows a single flower. After bloom, the evergreen mat it forms stays green, dense, and weed-resistant through every other month of the year. That mat suppresses weeds, holds soil on slopes, and keeps the planted area looking intentional through fall, winter, and back into spring. 12 months of contribution from a plant that asks almost nothing in return. The spreading mechanism is clean and manageable. Lateral stems extend outward from the plant's center and root directly into the soil wherever they contact the ground, 6 to 12 inches per year in each direction under good conditions. No aggressive underground rhizomes traveling where they are not wanted. No prolific self-seeding beyond the designated area, just steady, reliable outward expansion that fills the space it was given and respects the boundaries around it. Documented in American gardens since the 1740s, nearly 300 years without ever becoming a removal problem. That track record is the endorsement no catalog photograph matches. Zones 3 through 9, full sun, 6 hours minimum, well-drained soil, no supplemental water after the first season, shear lightly after blooming, plant in June, establish through summer, and watch the spring display begin the following April. Plant 2, Daylily / Hemerocallis. Plant 2 is the unstoppable bloomer, and most American gardeners are growing one of 3 common orange varieties while 35,000 others exist. Each individual daylily bloom opens for one day. That is where the name originates. But a single established clump produces 40 to 60 buds across multiple stems over a 6-week flowering window. Something is always opening. The display never goes fully quiet. And the color range available today: deep burgundy, warm gold, pale cream, near black, soft lavender, blazing coral, peachy apricot, and bicolors that appear designed rather than naturally occurring, is broad enough that daylilies alone could carry a landscape from June through October without a single color repeated. Root fans expand outward each season, measurably wider the following spring, significantly larger by year 3. Divide every 4 to 5 years when the center stops blooming well. Each division becomes a full blooming plant within one season. No deadheading required, drought-tolerant once established, virtually pest and disease-free across all U.S. regions. Zones 3 through 9, full sun to partial shade. Morning sun with afternoon shade extends individual bloom life noticeably in Zone 7 and warmer. The most reliable all-around flowering perennial on this list for first-time and experienced gardeners alike. Plant 3. Balm Jacob Cline. Plant 3 is the plant that brings hummingbirds to your yard and keeps them there. And the variety name on the tag is the single most important purchasing decision you will make before it comes home. Ruby-throated hummingbirds visit up to 1,000 flowers per day during migration. In suburban neighborhoods where tubular flowers are scarce, an established bee balm planting becomes the reason hummingbirds stay for weeks rather than passing through in a single afternoon. Underground rhizomes spread this plant fast. A single clump triples its footprint in 2 seasons. Divide every 2 years without exception. Clumps not divided lose bloom production at the center and invite the powdery mildew that makes older varieties look defeated by August. Jacob Cline carries genetic mildew resistance, same blazing red flowers, same hummingbird draw, no white film in August. If a tag says bee balm with no variety name, leave it on the shelf. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun to partial shade. Average to moist soil. Divide every 2 years without exception. Marshall's Delight for pink. Raspberry Wine for reddish purple. Both carry the same resistance. Plant 4. Black-eyed Susan / Rudbeckia. Goldsturm. Plant 4 solves the problem that drains the energy from more American landscapes than any other single gap, and simultaneously feeds the birds through the coldest months of the year. The midsummer gap. That 6-week stretch from mid-July through early September when early summer perennials are done and fall color has not arrived. Black-eyed Susan Goldsturm owns that stretch completely. Bright golden yellow petals surrounding deep near black centers, blooming from July through September at the exact moment most other perennials are finishing. 2 mechanisms keep it expanding. The root clump grows outward each season, producing more stems from a wider base. Seed heads left standing through winter drop viable seeds that germinate within a foot or 2 of the parent plant the following spring. A single established clump generates 8 to 12 new seedlings over a 2-year period without any action required beyond not cutting the plant down in fall. Leave seed heads standing that delivers 2 returns. Free seedlings the following spring, and goldfinches feeding actively from October through February. The National Wildlife Federation lists Black-eyed Susan among the top 5 plants for native bird support in residential gardens. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun. Tolerates poor dry soil. Drought-tolerant once established. Divide every 3 years. Plant 5, Yarrow / Achillea millefolium. Plant 5 covers the most ground, the fastest in the worst conditions, and does it while producing cut flowers that last a week in a vase. 2 spreading mechanisms work simultaneously. Rhizomes push outward underground while the plant self-seeds heavily around and beyond the parent. A well-established planting can double its footprint in a single growing season. Every bare, dry, sun-baked, difficult area that has defeated every previous planting attempt is Yarrow territory. The worse the soil, the better Yarrow looks. One selection note worth making before purchase. Buy the species Achillea millefolium in white or soft yellow rather than the fancy hybrid colors. The saturated reds, oranges, and pinks revert toward plainer tones over 2 to 3 years as the plants drift back to their genetic baseline. You end up with an aggressively spreading plant in a color nobody selected. The species holds its color permanently and costs half as much. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun. Lean to average soil. No supplemental water once established. Divide every 2 to 3 years. Every division is a free, transplantable, blooming-size plant for a new location or a neighbor's garden. Plant 6, Catmint / Nepeta Walker's Low. Plant 6 is the controlled spreader. 6 months of non-stop color, deer, and pest resistance, and reliable annual expansion that fills its space without crossing into neighboring plants. Walker's Low produces cascading mounds of lavender blue flowers on softly arching stems from May through October. 6 full months from a single plant that comes back stronger every year. The controlled clump division growth habit makes it one of the most practical spreading perennials for borders, path edges, and mixed beds where aggressive underground spread would create problems rather than solve them. The mid-season technique that separates 6 months of color from 3. When the first bloom flush begins fading in early July, cut the entire plant back by half. It looks severe for 10 days. Then it returns with a second full wave of blooms that is frequently heavier than the first. 2 complete cycles per season, every season. Gardeners who skip that one cut lose 6 to 8 weeks of color every summer and never quite understand why their catmint underperformed. The silvery green foliage repels deer, rabbits, and biting insects. Butterflies and bees work it continuously through both bloom cycles. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun, average soil, drought tolerant once established. Divide every 4 years. 1 mid-season shearing, that is the complete care requirement. 6 plants in. Which of these are already spreading in your yard? Drop the name and your zone in the comments. If you have had any of these for more than 3 years, tell everyone watching how much ground they have covered. Real numbers from real gardens in real zones are worth more than anything said from this side of a camera. Garden Senior Living covers this kind of specific, practical, zone-honest guidance every single week. If this video has given you something useful, the subscribe button is the decision worth making before you close it. The next video covers the companion plants that make every one of these 11 spreaders perform at a measurably higher level. Subscribe so it finds you automatically. Plant 7. Hardy Geranium/Geranium sanguineum. Plant 7 is the most underrated spreader on this list. The one most gardeners walk past at the nursery without picking up, that quietly fills the toughest spots in the yard while everything around it struggles. Hardy Geranium, not to be confused with the tender annual geranium sold in red and pink flats every spring, is a true perennial that expands steadily by both underground rhizomes and self-seeding into a weed-suppressing mat of deeply lobed, attractive foliage. The flowers are small but produced in remarkable volume, magenta pink, soft violet, white, or rose, covering the plant from late spring through summer and often producing a second flush in early fall after a light trim. It thrives in average to poor soil, tolerates dry conditions once established, and handles partial shade to full sun without the dramatic decline that forces most sun-loving plants out of mixed light situations. The foliage turns warm red and orange in fall before dying back cleanly for winter, a bonus seasonal contribution most perennials don't make. Max Fry is compact and ideal for border edges. Vision Violet produces the deepest purple-violet flower available. Album is pure white, the most versatile option for mixed borders. Zones 3 through 8, full sun to partial shade, average to poor soil, drought tolerant, no staking, no deadheading. Light shearing in midsummer encourages fuller fall rebloom. Plant 8, Garden Phlox/Phlox paniculata. Plant 8 is the summer showstopper, visible from across the street, fragrant 20 feet away on a still evening. Garden Phlox produces dome-shaped clusters up to 6 inches across in pink, white, red, lavender, and deep purple from midsummer through early fall. The fragrance carries far enough in still evening air that visitors ask about it before they reach the garden. Crown expansion pushes the root system outward each season. A plant established in June occupies 2 to 3 times its original space within 4 years, and the display at year 5 is dramatically more impressive than year 1. 2 practices determine whether Garden Phlox thrives long-term. First, named mildew-resistant varieties only, David for white, Jana for pink, Robert Poor for deep lavender purple. Unnamed phlox from generic flats is frequently mildew-susceptible, declining to spotted foliage by August in humid summers. Second, water at soil level only and space plants 18 inches apart for air circulation. Those 2 practices prevent the mildew that is the most common reason Garden Phlox disappoints. Zones 4 through 8. Full sun to partial shade. Consistent moisture. Divide every 3 to 4 years. The fragrance alone justifies every inch of border space this plant occupies. Plant 9, Goldenrod/Solidago fireworks. Plant 9 carries a reputation problem it does not deserve. And once that reputation is set aside, what remains is one of the most ecologically productive, most dramatically beautiful late-season perennials available to American gardeners. Goldenrod does not cause hay fever. That is ragweed, a wind-pollinated plant blooming at the same time. Goldenrod pollen is heavy, sticky, and insect-carried. It does not become airborne. The reputation is borrowed from a neighbor it has nothing to do with. Fireworks Goldenrod, Solidago rugosa fireworks, produces arching sprays of small yellow flowers in late summer and fall that genuinely resemble the burst pattern of fireworks. The display is dramatic, architectural, and arrives at the exact moment the late-season garden needs something carrying the color while everything else winds down. Monarchs treat it as a critical migration fuel stop. Native bees work the flowers continuously through the bloom period. The seed heads that follow feed songbirds through fall and into winter. Named compact fireworks stays 2 to 3 feet wide without the aggressive spread of common goldenrod. Buy the named cultivar, not unnamed goldenrod from a bucket. Zones 3 through 9. Full sun to partial shade. Lean to average soil. Drought tolerant once established. Plant 10. Lamb's Ear/Stachys byzantina. Plant 10 transforms a border the moment it is planted, and it does it without a single flower. Lamb's ear produces dense silver-white foliage covered in fine, dense hairs that give each leaf a soft, almost velvety texture. The visual impact is immediate and unlike anything else available in a perennial border at the same price. Against green foliage, against purple salvia, against gold rudbeckia, the silver reads as a deliberate design choice, the kind of contrast that makes everything around it look more considered and more intentional, and visitors reach out and touch it every time. The tactile quality of the foliage draws people in without prompting, which is a characteristic that very few container or border plants produce. That consistent response makes lamb's ear one of the most commented on plants in any garden it appears in. The hairs covering each leaf reflect sunlight and trap dry air against the leaf surface to slow moisture loss, a precision biological system. When they stay upright and silver, the plant is thriving. When they flatten, the plant is getting too much water. Water it less than anything else in the border and it will be more spectacular than anything else in the border. It spreads steadily by clump division, filling border edges and path margins with silver presence that persists all season. Big Ears produces dramatically oversized leaves. Helen von Stein is nearly flowerless, directing all energy into foliage, the right choice for pure visual impact. Zones 4 through 8. Full sun. Lean soil. Minimal water. No fertilizer. Plant 11, New England Aster/Symphyotrichum, Novae Anglii. Plant 11 is the hidden gem that saves the fall garden, the late-season bloomer that delivers some of the most saturated, most wildlife-active color of the entire year. New England Aster produces masses of small daisy-like flowers in deep purple, violet, pink, and white from September through October. Against the warm golds and oranges of fall foliage, the saturated purple-violet of a mature aster planting is one of the most visually dramatic combinations the autumn garden produces. Monarchs treat New England aster as a critical pre-migration fueling stop. Native bees and late-season butterflies work it continuously through the bloom period. In gardens where late-season nectar is scarce, a mature aster becomes visible from a distance by the density of insect activity on it. The spread comes from both stolons and prolific self-seeding. Pinch stems back by 1/3 in early June. This controls height and produces a fuller, more flower-dense plant. Skip pinching and the plant reaches 4 to 6 feet and may need staking. With pinching, it stays 2 to 3 feet with no support needed. Purple dome is compact, 2 feet tall, dense and heavy blooming without requiring any pinching. Alma Puchka is taller with vivid deep rose-pink flowers that stand apart from the standard violet range. Alatamasco is pure white, the most elegant option for fall borders where a clean contrast to surrounding gold and bronze is the priority. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun, average to moist soil. Pinch back in early June. Divide every 3 to 4 years in spring. The last bloomer on this list, and the one that earns its space most visibly in the season when the garden needs it most. 11 fast-spreading perennials, 1 June planting window. Here is every one of them. Creeping Phlox. The spring color waterfall, 300 years in American gardens, evergreen weed suppressing mat. zones 3 to 9. Daylily, 35,000 cultivars, 40 to 60 buds per clump, expanding root fans, no deadheading, drought-tolerant, zones 3 to 9. Balm Jacob Cline, mildew-resistant, triples footprint in 2 seasons, definitive hummingbird plant, divide every 2 years, zones 3 to 9. Black-eyed Susan Goldsturm, fills the midsummer gap, self-seeds and expands, feeds birds through winter, zones 3 to 9. Yarrow, fastest ground covering spreader, doubles footprint in 1 season, thrives in poor dry soil, by the species not the hybrid, zones 3 to 9. Catmint walkers low, 6 months of bloom, 1 mid-season cut for 2 full cycles. Deer resistant, controlled spreader, zones 3 to 8. Hardy geranium, the underrated workhorse, fills dry shade and difficult slopes, self-seeds and rhizome spreads, fall color bonus, zones 3 to 8. Garden phlox, fragrant 6-inch clusters visible and scented from across the yard, crown spreader, named mildew-resistant varieties only, zones 4 to 8. Goldenrod fireworks, named compact cultivar only, late-season Monarch fuel stop, does not cause hay fever, zones 3 to 9. Lamb's ear, silver foliage that makes everything around it look better, thrives on deliberate neglect, lean soil, and minimal water, zones 4 to 8. New England Aster, the fall garden's hidden gem, September through October saturated color, critical Monarch migration stop, pinch in June, zones 3 to 8. June is the planting month most American gardeners underestimate. Plants established in June spend the rest of summer building root systems that make them exceptional next spring. By hard frost, they are anchored and prepared to return stronger in year 2 than year 1, stronger in year 3 than year 2. The compounding begins this June and does not stop. One planting decision, a yard that fills itself with color, fragrance, and wildlife every season. No annual replacement, no spring reinvestment, no starting over. That is what these 11 plants build. They start this month. Which of these 11 are you planting this June? Drop the number in the comments. And if you are already growing any of them and have watched them spread over more than 3 seasons, tell everyone how much ground they have covered. Those real accounts from real gardens in real zones help every gardener reading below this video understand exactly what they are investing in. If this video gave you even one plant worth growing, the like button is how you help other gardeners find this information before their own June planting window closes. One tap puts it in front of someone who needs it. Garden Senior Living publishes a new video every single week. Next week covers the companion plants that make every one of these 11 spreaders bloom longer, look fuller, and draw more wildlife through every season. Subscribe so it finds you automatically. Now get those plants in the ground. The spreading starts this June. Garden Senior Living. Plant once. Never regret for life.